So, guys, welcome and super happy that you're able to take your time to talk about Step with us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so I've been looking forward to this. I mean, I have a lot of memories around Step, but both when you guys were new to Solana and you had those absolutely crazy APYs that provide liquidity. That was so awesome. That was like spring last year or something. You guys were very early. But another memory I have, which is even cooler, is when we had that party in Lisbon at the Breakpoint conference. And in the end of that party, we were all like shit-faced drunk and talking about DeFi. But actually, it made no sense what we were talking about because we were so drunk. We were just standing there with like beers, like, yeah. It was so fucking funny. Had an awesome time there with you guys. Yeah, it was good times. So maybe you could tell the audience, who are you guys? What are you guys doing at Step?
Sure, yeah, maybe I'll start. My name's George. I'm, I guess, the other half of Step, co-founder, but essentially Aaron and I started Step about a year ago out of a hackathon. So Aaron's the tech guy and I'm the everything else guy. So we're really happy to be here today and happy to get stuck into it. A short intro gets the job done. Aaron, go for it.
Yeah, mate, you pretty much covered it. Yeah, CTO and co-founder of Step. Known George for a long time and kicked off this project about a year ago, a bit over a year ago now. Out of probably it was a second hackathon for Solana. It's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, they're growing a lot since back then. Although, a lot of those hackathons last year, they did get quite a lot of interest, like 10K people signing up. Hundreds of projects come out of it. It's good to see. And so we didn't place, we didn't really do any, any placings or anything from it, but we did learn a lot, which was really good from ours. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on that topic, we actually started off with a completely different concept back then. And during that sort of journey, we actually realized and identified, the need for Step at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool.
So I would love to hear more about the origins and how you guys got started, because I think, as far as I know, it's quite an interesting story. But first and foremost, I think what everybody needs to understand here, who is not acquainted with Step or is new to Solana, it's what are you guys actually doing? What is Step Finance?
Yeah, so Step is a portfolio manager. Essentially, I think is a great way to put it. It is that ideally we set it up as it's that one tab that you go to every day that tells you everything you need to know about your portfolio on Solana. And when we first started, no such thing existed, right? They've got these hundreds of different projects. They're all doing different things. You got money over here, over there. You got 10 different tabs up. Where's my money? Don't know. So essentially we bring it all together in one spot. We integrate with all these different projects. I don't know, probably 100 or so right now. We essentially, all of your positions are on Step, as well as a whole bunch of different useful value add features. So it might be things like auto compounding. It might be settling things from Serum. It might be transaction history. It might be NFT galleries. We've got the AR stuff going on there as well. A lot of other side things, but essentially the idea is to be one central location which brings everything together. It doesn't matter if you're in one DeFi project or 100. You should be able to see everything and be able to do some sort of management on Step.
Cool. So if I'm into DeFi and I'm providing liquidity over there and I'm lending over here and I'm working with mSOL to stake as well, I could just see everything, get a proper overview of all my DeFi plays using the dashboard of yours, right?
Yeah, so mSOL is a good example of something that's in lots of different yield farms all over the place. I guess Step is a good example of you'd be able to track those positions wherever they might be, and some of those positions might be yield farms of which then you can compound through our step-by-step model. Otherwise, you got to do 5 individual transactions by themselves, and it takes a long time and it's super annoying. So it's all about being that easy place to go to.
I guess one other part there is we try to actually provide I think in a lot of cases we do provide a lot more information than even some of the native platforms. So a bit more of a deeper, I guess, inspection on your positions. You know, a lot more of a breakdown. You know, you can see all the LP breakdowns and things like that. And, you know, we show APYs, APRs. We try to teach users the difference between those. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good setup. And I also, like, there's two things that I really enjoy myself with Step, and that's the pie chart, which gives me a pretty good overview of not like exactly where I have my positions and what projects, but it kind of categorizes what categories of DeFi I'm like having my portfolio circled around. So I love that setup. It visualizes it so good. But then additionally, and I think also interesting for some part of the audience here who are into NFTs, is that you could utilize Step as well, right, to keep a track on what NFTs you have in your portfolio. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's NFTs is kind of like a big focus for us right now because, I mean, 2021, if we could say anything about that year, we could probably say it was the year of the Solana. We could also say it's the year of NFTs. So, you know, there's a lot of new people coming to crypto, to DeFi, to all of these blockchains like Solana through NFTs, right? That's their first interaction. They're not coming for, you know, 1 billion% APYs. We thought they would, but they're not. People are coming to trade pictures of a dog on the internet, and great, you know, that seems to be what's onboarding people. So NFTs are like a growing area, and sort of being, because our product offering is really broad, we're not just sort of, you know, one thing. You know, if you're, say, like, I don't know, a stable coin or something, or let's say you're an AMM, like that's your product, right? That's all you do. Whereas Step, because we have all of these integrations everywhere, the product offering's quite broad. So, you know, that also helps. So I guess with the NFT stuff, we're trying to expand into, I guess, giving people more of the metadata information about their NFTs, pricing information. We have AR integrations with Star Atlas. We also have some of the first staking for NFTs. I think that's going live today, if it's not already, where you can, again, in Star Atlas, staking of NFTs, claim rewards, and do all of that within the Step dashboard. So, yeah, there is quite a few different things. Like, we don't want to be a marketplace ourselves for NFTs. Like, that's covered. People do that. Great, good on them. Our job is really around the data. So it's about discovery. It's about knowing, you know, what your current position is, historical information with those NFTs, any other interesting other bits like the AR stuff. So yeah, we want that to be like the central focus. And we recently launched a fund to essentially incentivize builders that are building cool data related projects to reach out to us and see if there's any potential there for integrations and grants and so on, just to build out that side of the product portfolio on the data side. So it's like, you know, what's trending, you know, what is more sort of data points that we can look at, you know, across the NFT ecosystem, and be able to get the user to be able to action that in some way and like do something, press a button and do something. Oh, that NFT is trending, cool. Oh, that one pumped 500x, cool. You know, I can now go press a button and sell it or buy it or do something, right? So yeah, those sorts of things is, I think, where we're looking at for the future of that.
Oh, that's so cool. So we can kind of expect, because one of the things you guys have is opportunities across Solana. And can we expect seeing something related to NFTs there as well? Like, because right now there's liquidity pool opportunities, but will we see NFT opportunities there, perhaps? Staking opportunities or something?
Oh, totally. Like essentially, Step at the moment shows you what you have. And the opportunities page, the idea behind that is to show you what you don't have. So yeah, opportunities page, we definitely need to build out. We've got some ideas there. Probably, I guess, towards the end of this quarter, I think we'll be moving towards a lot of those opportunities and categorizing them. And okay, this is NFT tab, this is a yield farm tab, this is something else tab. But yeah, you know, we definitely want to show people things which they don't have, so that then they can action it. Because often, you know, people come to Solana and they don't know the 100 different platforms. We might, because we're immersed in it every day, right? But especially new people, that they have no idea what the opportunities are. So, you know, having one place to actually see that, I think, is hugely important.
Yeah, 100%. I love the attention you guys are giving to the NFT space. There's a lot of tools missing there. It's cool. So when it comes to the toolings and so on, I think everybody understands now that Step Finance makes the DeFi life easier. But from your perspective regarding all these toolings, which one is the ones that makes your life easier when you are using Step? Is it like the dashboard setup, getting a track of the portfolios? Is it the NFT setup that you guys are looking at? Which one would you like to highlight as the most useful one?
Personally, the just the dashboard itself, just having a great simple overview of where all my assets are. I mean, that's how Step came to be, really. Like, we got out of that hackathon and we're like, sort of, where's all my tokens? Where's all my assets at? Like, I can't see where all these things are. And back then there might have only been Serum Dex, Swap, and Radium, I guess, at that point. But even then, there was no real good wallets. It was kind of hard to see where all that stuff was. So to me, the dashboard is first and foremost. Some of the account tools are actually really cool. So we've got the settling of balances, which I think a lot of our users actually really love. We get a lot of comments on that we're basically getting people sort of free money, or money they sort of forgot about because they forgot to settle balances on the deck somewhere. And get lots of great comments from people coming in, hey, save me, or made me find a couple $100 here or there. And
yeah, actually, I'm one of those. I'm one of those. When I used your platform the other day, I was like, oh snap! I had some SOL staked to a validator. I forgot about. So definitely useful in that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like money under the cap sort of thing, right?
It's funny because these features are things which we didn't focus too much on, but then we released them and then they got all of the attention. So like the accounts is another one, right? Every time you opening a token account, you're paying rent in SOL to the network, and sometimes people have like hundreds of dollars worth of SOL just sort of sitting there, which they totally forgot about, which has been paid in rent, which they can get returned to them if they go to that accounts tooling. And we've had a few people being like, oh, I've found $500. Like, okay, cool. We didn't really think like these kind of things would get the traction that they did, but hey, they did, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, that's cool. And I would say myself, that's what I enjoy about Step the most. The dashboard is really helpful. So yeah, cool. So we talked a little bit about who you guys are and what Step is, and all these really cool features. But how did it all get started? I mean, I said once or twice already that you are OGs on Solana. But what's the Step origins? How did it all start?
Yeah, I think we initially set out to build something useful in DeFi. So the question was what? And we initially got together and thought, well, you know what, maybe like a DCA contract. I haven't seen one of those before. And this was, I guess, late 2020. Aaron built out a prototype on Ethereum. We had a look at one of the side chains as well, and did some experimentation there, but it was just way too expensive to do anything on chain. It was something like, if we had 6 users, it would cost us $180 in fees. And that was when Ethereum was like 10x less valuable than it is now. So in order to make $180 worth of fees for that's every day you have to pay that to transact, you would have to have a TVL of really big numbers to even just break even. With a brand new product, just with a DCA contract. So a DCA dollar cost averaging, by the way. So you put in $100 and it buys you like $10 worth of coins every week or whatever you set it to. So anyway, then we looked at other chains and came across Solana, and Solana was pretty appealing because it had the liquidity and it had the wrapped coins of all the stuff which people care about. So got in experimenting there and entered the hackathon and. Essentially, built out that product, that DCA product. I think the code's still somewhere, essentially it was to do that one narrow use case. But I guess through the hackathon, we found that there's a lot more missing. And if we were to just have one product, it's quite limiting, right? Because only people that care about that specific thing are going to go there. So we thought, well, what is actually limiting right now is just a general overview of everything that's happening with your wallet. So that's sort of how we got started and deployed the first iterations of Step early last year, basically. But yeah, it wasn't the intent to sort of get to where we are now. It would actually just started from a DCA contract, which I don't know if anyone's really done that yet, even on Solana. I think it is a useful thing, and I think some people will use it. But
so what
yeah.
is a DCA contract for those who are new to Solana and DeFi?
Yeah, so it would be a place where you say put like 100 USDC, and then you tell the contract to buy me $10, 10 USDC worth of SOL or mSOL every week, let's say, and then it'll just go and do that. And over that time, you get like an average buy price for SOL or mSOL in this case. So it's an established like investment technique called dollar cost averaging, where you don't go all in today, because the price that you might get today might not be very good, right? And you don't know if it'll be very good or not. So the idea is to spread out your risk over a period of time and to buy small chunks over time, and then you average a price over time. And that is a technique that some people use. So yeah, that would be the idea. People would be able to lock funds in there and be able to direct whatever coin they wanted to buy over some time period that they could set. And I don't think anyone's done that yet. Might have to bring it back to life.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably use it if you guys sorted that out. I'm heavily into DCA stuff. I think that's the most sustainable way to load crypto bags myself. So I think I heard some other projects talking about something in that order, but I'm not entirely sure. Looking forward to see what you guys can bring when it comes to that. But that's a really cool backstory on how Step came to life. And you guys, I also mentioned earlier here, and when we started off this session, that one of the fun memories I have of Step is like this insane APY numbers, because you kind of did a fair launch setup, right? I mean, insane in a good way, because I think most of the Solana ecosystem back then really enjoyed that. So you have this token then, and the Step token. What can we do with the Step token? What is it about?
Yeah, so the launch was all about, you got to launch with a bang. And if you launch with a bang, people will pay attention. And so that was sort of the way to catalyze attention early on. And, the launch, I think, certainly did its job. And, we're sort of, happy with how things went and, all of that sort of stuff. So I think from there, though, okay, the token's out. Now, what does the token do? Well, we mentioned before, there's a lot of these different features which you can use on Step, some of which people pay a fee for. So that might be swaps, it might be settling Serum DEX balances, it might be auto compounding, it might be setting up a yield farm, one of these our permissionless yield farms which we have. But all of these things cost some money, right? They're all value add features, and the idea is that the token is a way to capture some of that upside. So the fees which are generated through people doing stuff on Step goes to a treasury wallet, which then buys Step from the market and then distributes it to people that are staking it. So much like mSOL, X Step is a token which has an inbuilt APY associated with it. So the idea is that if you're staking Step, you can get X Step in return, and that's a portable SPL token. You can go and take it everywhere and put it into a farm or do whatever with it, send it to another wallet. But that token itself has an inbuilt APY from the fees of the platform. So the idea is the more people that use Step, the more people that press buttons to pay fees for things which are useful to them, the more revenue which will be generated, the higher the APYs, and so on, right? So that's the idea behind it. So essentially our goal is having to balance a few different things. One, we have to balance revenue accrual and features which are useful and people will pay for. So that's why usually they're Rust contracts as well, which we have to go and develop from scratch. So that's one thing, is like the tokenomics side. We also have to balance that with new integrations, things which won't generate money. So like if we're adding some new yield farm that popped up last night and everyone's raging about, then we have to kind of drop everything and go and integrate that. And and that's something that might not actually bring us revenue tomorrow, but it is something which is important for the overall product. So we have to balance those two things, right? Do we spend more on one or the other? And certainly, having a portfolio aggregator which only has, say, 50% coverage of things, that's not going to fly. You need to have some certain amount, but also you can't spend all of your time integrating things because then essentially you'll have nothing else, no spare time to do anything else for the token at the end of the day. But also, you also put off things which, okay, let's say a new yield farm launches, right? Yesterday, and 10 people are raging about it. Well, you could have spent time building a feature which 10,000 people use because they're all using, Marinade or Radium or some other bigger project. So in dropping everything and integrating some smaller one for a couple of people, you're actually missing out on the bigger pie for a lot of other people. So it's with a limited amount of resources and a limited amount of time in the day, it's something that we have to balance is, these two sort of things. Is it coverage? Is it tokenomics stuff? Or is it sort of new features which aren't in either category, but are useful nonetheless? Things like the transaction history of a user's wallet. So we have that in Step as well. So yeah, it's a kind of a balancing act with time.
Yeah, cool. And there's a lot of use for Step in that sense then, like capturing some of that revenue together with you guys holding the Step token. It sounds really awesome. And it's kind of towards what we're trying to do with the Marinade token as well, so people can participate in that order. But I connected further on to the Step token. I saw some really interesting updates from you guys recently. And that was the Solend partnership. That is quite new, right? And it should put some more use to the Step token. Or am I right?
Yeah. So we're super pumped to have that Solend pool now. So there's a couple of different strategies which you can do with that. So for those who are unaware, Solend's a lender. You can borrow and lend balances there. And we have Xstep and Step as part of that pool. And one of the cool strategies is leveraged yield farming of Xstep. So that would be a case where you deposit Xstep. Let's say it has a 10% APY in and of itself in the token. And then you borrow Step from the lender. And then you take that Step and then you stake it, create it into Xstep, and then you redeposit that Xstep back into that lending pool, and then you borrow more Step. And you keep doing that, a couple times, go round and round and round, and eventually you get a leveraged position of Xstep. And the cool thing about this is you don't have any price risk either because they're essentially the same token. So you could do the same thing with Sol and mSOL as well. But yeah. So that's like one of the cool use cases for that pool particularly is having sort of leveraged access to people that want to yield with the native token but not take any price risk. Because often if you're on a lender, if say you're depositing Step and then you're borrowing USD, well, if the token price goes down, you might get liquidated. It's great if the token price goes up, great, then you can borrow more. But there's always a price risk involved, right? So this would be one potential strategy for doing that with that pool, and we've listed a couple of other strategies. I think later today we're going to post some others. But yeah, there's some cool stuff that you can do with lending markets, which we're super excited about.
Cool. Yeah, I was excited when I saw that update, and that just opens up for so much more when you are listed on a lending platform like that as well. That's awesome. So we're getting closer to the 30-minute mark here, but I do have two more questions I want to bring up myself. And as you mentioned, mSOL, when you were talking about Solend, mSOL is in Solend as well. And for those in the audience who don't know what mSOL is, if you're new to Solana, mSOL is staked SOL or a derivative of staked SOL. So that's what we provide at Marinade. When you stake your SOL tokens through Marinade, you get mSOL in return that represents that staked SOL. And you could use mSOL in the DeFi ecosystem to get even more yield on top of the staking rewards you get, which is pretty cool. But Step Finance has been very supportive of what Marinade has been doing. We're working together on trying to do our best to decentralize and secure the Solana network with the Marinade staking model. And Marinade, as Step guys know, but maybe not everybody in the audience knows, Marinade is staked to more than 400 validators on the Solana network, drastically improving the security and resilience of the network. So Step, you guys have been supportive of this since the get-go, I and you're one of the first also that implemented the SOL to mSOL staking feature on your website. For you guys, like what role does mSOL play in the Step story?
Yeah, Aaron, maybe you want to handle the. I think, did you do the staking or one of the other guys, perhaps?
One of the other guys did it, but yeah, I mean, the role there is really just to help enforce the decentralization, right? So the more we can get staked, the better the ecosystem is. Seeing as we're sort of the front page of Solana, or that's the way we're sort of positioning ourselves, having that first and foremost and right in the front of his face to be able to do, just really accelerates that and provides easy access for all the users that we capture.
Yeah, so on the front page of Step, there's a stake button if you have any SOL in your account, and you press that, and then that essentially stakes it in Marinade and turns your SOL into mSOL. So yeah, that's one way that we're trying to just make it easy for people that might not be aware, is they just see something which perhaps they didn't know was a thing. They maybe had never heard of staking before of SOL or mSOL or whatever that is. They just press that button, boom, and now they're earning some sweet Marinade APY.
Yeah, they're doing their part in securing Solana and decentralizing Solana as well.
Absolutely.
And for those new here in the audience as well, I just want to underscore that when we talk about decentralizing Solana and securing Solana and talking about stake and so on, if that's new to you, I can just quickly try to explain it here. It's basically, we have a bunch of validators or servers holding up the Solana network. And in very simplified terms, all of these validators, they need SOL staked to them to operate in the most efficient manner. But if a validator gets too many SOL staked to him, it becomes a centralization issue, because then the balance of the staked SOL leans towards too few of these servers, and then these few servers, they kind of get too much of a say within the ecosystem. It kind of centralizes the decision power. But that is a very simplified way of explaining it. We will definitely try to explain this in better terms later on as we go. But yeah, cool. Step Finance, fellow decentralizers, and part of the movement of growing Solana. I love that, and I'm super happy that you're on board with this mission. The last thing I want to bring up before we move to the first contest here today is the roadmap of yours. You have a lot of cool stuff happening for you in 2022. But not to address the whole roadmap, I would like to understand which part of the roadmap do you guys look forward to the most and are most excited about?
Yeah, so I think maybe getting back to that discussion about the balancing that we have to do between coverage, adding new stuff, and tokenomics. I think I sort of more err on the side of being excited about some of the tokenomics stuff that we have going on. So recently we just enabled call options, which is pretty cool. So for those unaware, if you're in a yield farm, people are essentially paying you with their token to be in that farm, right? And that can be good for a short time, but for a long time, it can actually be detrimental, right? Because people can take the token, sell it, dump it, move on, and just take the yield that way. So I think a better way to align incentives for people that are using the platform and incentivizing people to go and stake their money is something like along the lines of what we have now with our call options, whereby you get airdropped an option on Step if you are using the platform and paying a fee in our AMM. The idea behind that is essentially you're only able to exercise that option if the Step price goes up, which is great. And by exercising that option, you're actually paying some money to Treasury, which then goes to put a floor price on the token as well. So it's a little bit complicated. We do have a write-up, on our website about that. But that's one thing I'm excited about. We'll have more of those sort of things going forward. We have interest in sort of the Tribeca locking, mechanisms. We have interest in referrals as well, on-chain referrals. Which is actually harder than people might think. You look at a Binance ref code or a FTX referral code, they're quite normal things that people are familiar with, right? Here's a URL, I press it, I go and sign up, and maybe I'll make a cut of the money. But in the DeFi world, like people can exploit that in certain ways, right? Like if I give you a code, maybe I go and set up 1 million bot accounts that then go and, trade on my behalf and try and, exploit the system somehow. So, having a referral system in place, I think will be super exciting. And then I think that the third thing is what you mentioned earlier with the sort of Star Atlas and NFT side of things. I think that's really exciting. So, we're sponsoring and partnering with a number of different data providers in that play to earn world. And Star Atlas is certainly sort of out in front there, I think, in Solana land. And we're super excited to partner with them and bring more of those like data tools. Like I remember playing video games back in the day, there was always a website that would be telling you like what's the best sword, what's the best gear, like what's the best combos, like all that kind of stuff, right? And that's going to be the same for blockchain games. People are going to be like, what's the best NFT to like optimize my reward? And, if I get this particular setup in game, what can I do with it? And, everything now being priced and, having access to the DEX and being an NFT and so on, you can do a lot of these optimizations in games, but it actually results in earning you real world money. So you can actually get paid to, be really good at a game. So I think exposing those little weird niche things and little weird, like, optimal setups for games and what's the best data combo, like, do you need this thing and that thing? That's what we want to put on Step. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm most excited about in the roadmap.
I guess leading out of that sort of analytics and data side of things, the next big part that I'm excited about is P&L and historical information, on your actual portfolio. I think a lot of users are going to be super excited about that when it arrives.
All right, cool. What's the P&L of a portfolio for the new DeFi users?
It's basically profit and loss, just showing the value of your portfolio over time. So
all right, cool, cool.
Yeah,
looking forward to that as well.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
nice graphs.
Yeah,
Charts and numbers,
nice graphs. Who doesn't like nice graphs?
Yeah.
And myself, I'm very heavy into visualizing things. So looking forward to that. And thanks for highlighting those things. I myself think that the NFT side of your mission here is going to be super interesting to follow. But okay, so let's move on to the first little contest here for this session, and that is the emoji lottery contest. So it's very easy. Everybody listening now, heads up. If you have the Marinade role, you will be eligible to participate and perhaps win those 200 Marinade tokens. And the only thing you need to do to participate in this little lottery is to post a special emoji in the Step AMA chat. And I'm going to write the emoji now, and you just write the same emoji. That means that you will get a lottery ticket, and then after the AMA is over, we're going to do the draw. And of course, it's the Step emoji. So just post that one, which would mean that you get the ticket for the lottery. Very simple, straightforward. So as you guys are pasting all this Step emojis here in the chat, also going to remind you that if you have the Marinade role, once again, you could every day go to the GM chat, and that's under the community category, and write GM to your fellow Marinators and their centralizers. So just wish everybody a good morning once a day, and you might win 4 USDC for your coffee expenses that day. So GM for coffee in the GM chat. But you need to have the Marinade role to be eligible to win that coffee. So keep that in mind. And then also, what's GM? And then also we have a pretty important event tomorrow where we're going to have an AMA with the chefs from the Marinade DAO. So if you want to get up to speed with what's happening inside the kitchen, you just join the AMA tomorrow with the chefs and get all the insights you need. And we'll talk about the 2022 roadmap and what's going to happen with the Marinade token and the NFTs connected to that. So it's going to be a super interesting event where we're going to address this new kind of M&D token / NFT governance aspect with revenue share model and everything juicy that you want to have in an NFT these days. So don't miss that event tomorrow. And then on Friday, we're going to have a race event with Alpha League Racing. Again, only for Marinators. So get the Marinator role if you want to participate. You'll get whitelisted to participate in the race. We have some juicy rewards there for that contest. So you can win some NFT cars and some special NFT cars in this event on Friday. And you could sign up for this event pretty simply by just indicating your interest in the Alpha League Racing. So we're just going to kick off that event with an AMA for an hour. Then the race starts at about 8 p.m. UTC Friday night. So tomorrow we have the Open Kitchen event with the chefs to talk about the 2022 roadmap. And then on Friday, we have the race events. Don't miss out on those two events coming up here. So moving forward, guys, should we perhaps address some of the questions here from the audience? We have plenty of questions. So let's see. I need to scroll up a lot here. Okay. I like this one from eMoney23. And I will deem that as question number 1. Pasting the link to the question here in the chat, Aaron and George, because in case I read this as a retard, you can at least read it yourselves.
Okay.
And so the question is as follows. Could Step offer reports formatted for tax reporting, which is a tool of great use for any person within crypto? Have you guys considered this?
Yes. Yeah. This is something that we hear about a lot. One of the things for us to really resolve for that is getting good access to the historical data, being able to read that on chain and having a good way to manage that in our back end. So yes, that will be something which will be coming to Step at some stage. And we're just sort of getting all of the dominoes in place before we can get it done.
All right, cool. Well, if you get that in place, I'm going to use it myself. I can tell you that. So, okay, let's move forward to the next question then. And this is from our master meme here, Kichio. And he asks, could you please ask the Step team if they plan to use the XStep as a governance token? And I can't recall if you mentioned anything regarding governance when we talked here the first half an hour. But is there any governance plans around the XStep?
Eventually, yes. I think we initially had in our docs, ever since we started, that the project remains centralized until such stage as we can decentralize it. I think it's very important in early days to have, a strong team which can lead the product offering and can execute and do what needs to be done. And then once the product is at a certain level, then I think it makes sense to decentralize and have more of a DAO structure. So that's certainly our intent going forward. And XStep, I think, would be critical to that. And that's also a good way to reward people that have skin in the game. So ideally, you want to have staked Step if you're going to have a say in the DAO. And I think that certainly makes sense. So, there's that. And we're also looking at the Tribeca stuff as well, for those not familiar. That involves vote locking and being able to vote on certain proposals which might arise. So that might be something, in Step's future as well. And so I think no timeline at the moment, but that certainly is sort of the way that I think things will be going.
Sounds like a healthy approach to it. I think it's important when it comes to governance and DAOs not to stress it. So it has the right sort of fundamentals in place before creating that, proper flat organization, right? But step by step, well, you get there.
Exactly. Step 1.
I guess that's not the first time you heard that.
Yep.
So we have another question here, and this is from a person with some can't really pronounce the name of this nickname. It's in letters I don't understand, but it was a good question. And the question is as follows: why did you show Solana for all different chains? Was it because of like a revenue structure, or what was it with Solana compared to everything else that caught your attention? I know you touched upon this earlier, but let's clear it out again.
Like, why did we pick Solana?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we identified the gap that essentially there was no. I mean, if you're familiar with Ethereum, there's products like Zapper and DBank that are portfolio aggregators as well. During that hackathon, we identified that gap. We were looking to do that TCA contract that we talked about. By going through that process, we realized there was no sort of Zapper of Solana, and at that time as well, there were no other real chains that had the liquidity to really kind of build something on there, apart from Ethereum. And we're trying to get away from Ethereum because of the high gas fees, slow transactions, all that sort of stuff. So it's really kind of what pushed us towards Solana. It's been great so far. It's kind of a lot of the other chains, especially Ethereum, have existed for a while, and it's sort of flooded in that space. You really have to kind of innovate very new things. It's kind of crowded. Solana was very new, looked very promising, and it has been. It's just been great to build on there. The other part of it too, and as we sort of realized, as time goes on, is the community in Solana is just amazing. And just the users and the engineering side of it as well. It's great. All these hackathons that are coming out, a lot of the Hacker House events that they're running. You spoke a little bit about Lisbon and the Step Party and a lot of the other parties that kind of went on around there as well. Just awesome. It just feels like a bit of like a family. It's just a great sort of place to be and a great place to be building.
100%, man. 100%. Don't underestimate the Solana speed. That's the thing here. And when you mentioned Ethereum, I was like, okay, there's a distinct difference there. One literally has to be rich these days on Ethereum to be able to pay those transaction fees. So
speed of the chain and the speed of building too. That's the thing that we've seen that like a year ago that was just Radium and Serum that existed, and now you look at it today and there's new projects popping up every day, multiple projects even. It's crazy how fast things are going now. It's only going to get more like that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's move forward to the next question then. This is question number 4, kind of connected to what we talked about now regarding why Solana and so on. Do you guys have any plans on expanding to other chains other than Solana in the future? That's a question from Tamada.
At the moment, no. I mean, I think there's so much going on Solana to keep up with. It's not like completely off the cards, but I think we want to do one thing and do it very well. So that's our immediate sort of vision is do Solana very well, get well established, get Step well established, and then look into those sorts of things. And we might look into that through partnerships, perhaps. With other similar projects that are on these other chains. It becomes an exponential problem to start trying to capture all the projects and things across other chains. But it's an interesting problem and something we might tackle in the future.
Cool, yeah. Solana first and foremost, and then perhaps some other chains. Okay, let's find another question here. I need to scroll up again a lot. Let's see. Okay. There's plenty of questions that are wondering about the main differentiator between you guys and other similar projects in the ecosystem. And I think this is probably the most asked question. Let me just pick some random person who asked this question then. But yeah, what is the main differentiator between you guys and those who does something similar?
Sure, yeah. So I guess in the portfolio aggregator space, there's not really that many options. Aaron alluded to some of the cross-chain ones. There are a few like cross-chain ones which are trying to dip their toes into the Solana world. But, when I go back to that comment about coverage versus, actually useful tools and things. There isn't anyone that really does anything at the same level that Step does. You can do maybe one thing on one chain that is, say, coverage. Let's say you have great coverage of the Terra ecosystem on your dashboard. Great. But when you expand to Solana, maybe you have 20% coverage. So, they might say, hey, we do Solana portfolio, aggregation, but it's like, well, you do, but also you don't. And often, people will, go to those products and go, well, it's only showing me that I have $1 in my account when actually I have a lot more than $1 in all these other protocols, but it's just not listed there. And that's, the problem with coverage. So I think, Step, we have good coverage of everything, but we also have useful features. Like I mentioned, the closing of accounts, getting your mSOL rent back, the settling of orders, the NFT stuff, transaction history for wallets. A lot of these like things which aren't just, could you integrate, X platform and show me the number? There's a lot of these other sort of things which Step does really, really well. So I would say that's some of the main differentiators is, I guess the coverage, but also the actual value add, useful things, buttons you can press that makes your life easier.
I guess that should be your slogan, You want to make your DeFi life easier, just use Step.
Exactly, yeah.
And one step at a time. No, but that's I really enjoy what you guys have created for the Solana DeFi ecosystem myself. And when it comes to you guys are OGs on Solana as well. So you've been here since the start when Solana was super small. So respect to you guys for that. And I myself have been using Step a lot during this time, during the last 6 months to keep a track of my DeFi plays and so on. So I find it very useful. So I can definitely recommend people to check out Step if they're into DeFi. And I have another question here, question number 6, and found this one quite interesting because we've been talking a little bit about NFTs and how, you guys are starting to provide support for NFT portfolios and so on. And we have a lot of people in the audience here who are super into NFTs. And they are probably all wondering what you guys think about NFTs. And the question is from Bombsopro. And it is as follows. What do you think about the future of NFTs? Why should we hold them? And is there any future use case of NFTs on your platform? But let me just quickly rephrase that question and ask it in this way instead. What do you guys see the future of NFTs and the current NFT environment? What's your main recommendation when it comes to speculating on these NFTs at this stage in the NFT ecosystem?
Yeah, I think NFTs have kind of gone through a cycle as well last year where we started off with the first real NFT projects. Usually they had the standard formula of we're going to make 10,000 NFT cats and each cat's going to be slightly different and have a different rarity. And then people are going to go and buy and speculate on these cats. And then someone would come along and go, hey, what about monkeys? Hey, what about elephants? Hey, what about crocodiles? And, just go through the entire menagerie of animals, right? That was certainly one stage where that's all NFTs were. It was sort of a vehicle for speculation, but also it meant that people were kind of thinking of them just like we did in 2017 with a bunch of coins. So it's like, hey, I'm going to buy this coin and I hope number goes up. But often what happens is the new shiny thing comes along and everyone gets wrecked. And, everyone goes and speculates on the next thing. So I think, that cycle's played out. It's been done. And I don't think that kind of thinking has much of a future in NFT land, with a limited mint and various rarity traits and that thing. I think NFTs which have actual use cases somewhere else is kind of the next phase. So we mentioned a little bit about the Star Atlas NFTs, right? So, you can imagine that, let's say there's a video game. It's set in space. Let's say it's called Star Atlas. Let's say there's a planet and the planet itself is an NFT. You and your guildies get together and you go and raid that planet. But before you do, you short it on the Serum DEX. So you go and raid it, you smash it up in game, and that reduces the price, let's say, of that NFT planet. And you close your short and now you've just made a whole bunch of money. So you become an in-game pirate that can actually make some real money. So it's use cases like that, which I think are super cool, right? So it's not just like, oh, this is a sword and it cost me $10 and it's an NFT. It's like, what are these unique little gaming things which you can do, and brings a whole new dynamic to it. So now you won't just get gamers in these games, you'll get like hedge funds set up in game to go and like do stuff to influence the in-game ecosystem to do things. And maybe you join a guild that does that. So I think the gaming side of things is one, definitely the future for a lot of NFT stuff on Sol. And we saw with Axie as well, probably one of the most famous NFT projects in Ethereum land, but they had to go and build an entire new blockchain because Ethereum was too slow to support their game. Whereas Solana is, fast and ready for it from day one. So I think Solana is going to be the base for a lot of these other games that are going to come along. And you can just focus on building your game rather than having to build an entire blockchain that goes with it. So yeah, I think something along those lines would be the way to go.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Like the future of NFTs is going to be pretty amazing. This whole like PFP thing and speculating on 5,000 or 10,000 unique PFPs, it has its value in the underlying value of that is the communities around these PFPs. But in the end, they're just like collectible trading cards. The NFT thing is way bigger than just that. So I think we're going to see some really, really interesting ways people are using NFTs within the near future, connected to what George just said here, which is an awesome way of looking at it. And I'm fully with him on that one. So let's move forward to the last question. And I'm picking the last question from, who was it? Either way, I got the link ready here. And we're going to move away from NFTs. But before we address the last question, we're talking about NFTs here. And for everybody who's new here in the audience, we released our roadmap very recently, and we are going to launch some NFTs ourselves within a couple of weeks, maybe a month, or so on. So stay tuned for that, and more information about those NFTs, those Marinade NFTs, will be presented tomorrow in the Open Kitchen AMA. So don't miss that one. So to the last question here, question number 7, and this is from Baby Tiger. Baby Tiger, I saw you writing a couple of times. I think that was a good question. So let's wrap it up with this one. Do you think a downtrend market will affect your project? And if so, how would it affect it?
Well, I guess the good thing about Step is our product's very broad. So whether it's an up or a down market, people still need to know about their portfolio, and they still need to execute transactions that does stuff. So I guess, for us, we're not too concerned about the external market. It'll do what it'll do. But for us, we just need to keep building value-added things that no matter what the market and where it goes, like people are still coming to Step for their information on what's happening with their portfolio. So yeah, I mean, we're not too concerned about it or anything like that. But yeah, it's as long as we build a product which people want to use every day that tells them everything they need to know, it doesn't really matter if coin go up or coin go down.
Well said, sir. Well said, sir. Cool. So that was a great reply to a great question. Let's move forward then to the last part of this little AMA event with Step Finance. This is when the gentleman here from Step is going to pick which question they enjoy the most. And this person who asked the question will receive, I think it was like $30 worth of Step tokens. So in order to make your life a little bit more easy, because we have a lot of chats in the channel here, I compiled all of these questions in a list here. I'm going to just paste it here, guys, Aaron and George, so you can just look through them, pick the one you guys think was the best one.
Cool. I think I don't know about you, Aaron. I was thinking like the NFT question's kind of cool.
Is that question number 6?
I think the NFT one's pretty good, just because it's it's probably one that's on a lot of people's minds. Where is NFTs going? I think the story of the pirates and everything that you went through was it's pretty funny actually. Thinking about that, playing out. So yeah, I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's do a question 6.
Okay, cool. And honestly, I really enjoyed your way of answering that question as well, George. Awesome. So question number 6 came from BombSoPro. BombSoPro, congrats. $30 of Step tokens will be sent to you. And we're going to wrap this up then. Thanks a lot, George and Aaron from Step Finance, that you took your time to come here and explain to us at Marinade and our audience here why Step is a really, really good pick when it comes to keeping a track on your DeFi portfolio. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Cool. So catch you guys later. And for the audience, we're going to wrap up the lottery we did half an hour ago for the Marinators. You have to give me like 15 to 20 minutes perhaps to sort that out. So stay tuned for an update about the winner. And thanks for attending. And don't forget the upcoming events tomorrow and on Friday as well. Open Kitchen and the race. So everybody, thanks for today and stay safe out there.